It takes a lot to be on this journey, man. It takes a lot to not quit. It takes something in you that you have to tap into that's actually very scary. I was on the phone the other day with my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Adesso. I love you. And she brought up something, interesting, right? And she told me something. She was like, hey, Nosa, you ever thought, like, what if we were autistic? Or what if we had some type of, like, mental disorder, right? That we weren't too sure about, because the way we grew up, we were so different than all the other, like literally every single other group of individuals and children. We were extremely different from them. So she just said, hey, what if we were, and no disrespect to anyone who's really autistic too, right? Who's classified, who's been diagnosed as autistic. No disrespect. I'm just saying this is just something that me and my cousin, we spoke about, right? So, but she mentioned it, right? So, and I was just like, damn, I mean, I don't think I am, right? I mean, I haven't done any research, honestly, on autism, on, certain disorders and what classifies you to have those disorders and, and things like that, right? But it just made me think, because I'm like, damn, okay, what if I was? Because my decision making in the beginning part of my life, it was, kind of bad. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I didn't really want to play around with that, because it's like, not to give myself any excuses, but, not exactly everything was there for me as far as, let's say, like, even parenting wise, I didn't have both parents growing up, certain things that I didn't have, growing up. Nevertheless, I didn't turn out to be, a serial killer or, anything drastic, right? Nothing too crazy, right? I'm just kidding. Nothing too crazy, right? So, she said that, and it just made me think, though, because I've always been brave. I've always been independent in my mind. I've always thought for myself, even though it may not have seemed like it. I've always thought for myself. I was always brave, always bold. I was always bold, always ready for an adventure. So I've always been the type to just dive in first, right? Without really critically thinking about anything, which is pretty bad, right? But at the same time, I think I need to do study on people who have disorders, who have like things like autism and stuff, because the people who I've seen that had autism and the people who I've seen that had, those type of disorders, they seem kind of aloof. And I'm not going to lie. Oh, it's getting blurry. What's going on here? Now, it'll be times where I will really get aloof. It'll be times where I'll be aloof. Like, I'll kind of just like not, be attached to anything. But maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe you're not supposed to be attached to the worldly things, because none of this is real. It's currently real for us because we're in it, but, all things are going to change and pass on. So how real is it if it's going to eventually, pass on and change, so. But let's just skip over autism for a second. What if there are other disorders out there that we're not aware about? Because I'm sure it's not black or white. Because a lot of people like to say, oh, things are either, people are extreme when it comes to disorders, when it comes to, your mental faculties. But some people could have, halfway type of disorders, or 25% or 10, 15, and you can see it in them. You can see it in them and how they and how they act and the things that they do, regardless if they're successful or not. Because you can be successful, but still be, your brain's, you're kind of different. And then I know some people who don't have any type of success, but they're really sharp. So it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting, to have those type of talks. And to bring those topics up, because not too many people talk about those topics, because people talk about the same things because they don't think for themselves. Most people don't think for themselves at all. Whew. Which I would rather, I would rather think for myself, man. Like, yeah, I'd rather think for myself, man. But it's just interesting, something told me to just talk about this for a second, because I want you guys to pay attention more, you know, pay attention, look at people in their eyes, and look at their mannerisms, look at their whole body language, and look at their behavior, because behavior tells everything. Behavior shows how someone really feels, and their mannerisms, their body language. Got to pay more close attention to the body language, and also to remember to not be attached. Just don't be attached, man. Don't be attached to nothing, honestly, because everything is going to change. And everything always does change. So you have to be willing to be a strong, understanding individual. And you have to know by yourself that to not be attached to anything, but at the same time, obviously, just not to be a robot. And you won't even be able to be a robot, because we all have feelings as human beings, whether you like it or not. You're gonna feel a way. You're gonna feel how you feel. But all you gotta do is just control your feelings, which isn't hard, especially if you're on semen retention, especially if you fast, and especially if you're disciplined. It's not hard to control your feelings, man. As a matter of fact, like, I am about a year and January, February, March, April, May. I'm about a year and 4 months in my semen retention journey, and I'm feeling a way that I've never felt before. I feel extremely comfortable in my skin. Like, there can be a million people around me screaming. I wouldn't even have to assess the situation. I would just know that I'm good. Whatever, you guys can scream over there, they're talking over there, they're doing this. I'm calm, I'm resilient, and I'm focused on what I got going on, regardless of the noise that's around. That's what I've picked up so far, I believe. Being a year and a half, darn near, on this semen retention journey, man, without releasing my nut. That's wild. But it's needed and necessary, and I will continue. Shout out to the guys who are still on semen retention, bro. Shout out to the guys who haven't stopped. Shout out to the guys who relapsed, right? But listen, it's time to stop relapsing. We have got to stop relapsing on semen retention, yo. We need to stop. Stop relapsing. Nothing is going to change when you relapse. When you relapse on semen retention, no matter how you think about it, whether you relapse by yourself, with someone else, however you do it, when you relapse on semen retention, regardless, you're going to lose your brain fluid. You're gonna, lose your bodily fluids. So I would say just don't release unless you want a baby. If you're not making a baby, if you don't intentionally want a baby, just don't relapse. All right, fellas, stay strong. I'm gonna come in hot with these videos more and more, bro. More and more and more. Your boy just been caught up in figuring things out while remaining on this journey. But I got it, y'all. I got it down. I'm coming every day, bro. I'm coming in hot. I'm gonna see y'all.